Friends, this is MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Welcome to the MLive Morning Weather Update, brought to you by Lush Lawn. And yes, I'm calling the weather. Could get really wacky here over the next, week or so. So let's get on into it. And I'm trying to get my phone to work so I can communicate with you a little bit. But let's just see. Give me just 1 second here. I want to fix something. And let's see here now. Bear with me just 1 second. All right, well, I guess it's not going to work. So here we go. We got a lot of weather to get into. So let's get right to it. Well, we first start off with the chance of severe weather, it looks like, today. And in fact, this is kind of setting where you can actually wind up with some large hail. We got cold air aloft, and we're going to get some thunderstorms going this afternoon. Indiana and Ohio moving toward the northeast, so southern part of Michigan could get into thunderstorms, and those could produce hail. Anytime you get hail, you could actually see isolated damaging winds around the storms. And I'll show you, they also give us a 2% chance of a tornado today. So here's the tornado chance. The shear, what we call the shear, what makes things spin in the atmosphere, is pretty high. The instability is not super high because, as you could tell, it's quite chilly out. But nonetheless, enough to produce an isolated tornado. I think more likely the large hail would be the main threat. Here's the wind damage potential, 5 to 15% this afternoon and early this evening. And then here's the hail potential, large hail potential. So be aware of that and park the good car in the garage, I guess you would say. You know, if you have that sports car that you've been wanting for some time. I saw somebody that bought a Range Rover on Facebook, and they were saying this is their dream car. Well, put the dream cars, whatever you have, in the garage today. All right, here's the current radar. It was a mess in the southern half overnight, quite a bit of rain. Now shifting to the northern half of lower Michigan, freezing rain being reported around the Gaylord area. So you see those purple pockets. There are some areas of freezing rain in the UP. They've reported about 0.3 of an inch of ice accumulating, and then a couple of inches of snow off to the west. And what we're seeing now is everything's lifting northward, and we'll get into the more sporadic type precipitation and warm up a touch. These are the current temperatures. And hey, good morning, Flint. Good morning, Mount Pleasant. Good morning. I'll try to get back with you here. Just a moment. No. All right. So temperatures are in the 30s from Saginaw northward, low 40s in the south. That will slowly warm. We're not going to get to warm levels today. Might get to about 50 or so, but it's a little bit better than it is now. Weather Service out of Gaylord showing you, highlighting the areas that could have freezing rain this morning. That's Gaylord to Mayo to the Alpena area in the northeast. So be careful if you're traveling that way. And let's get into it. Like I said, the weather could get wacky here. We're in an active storm track. That's obvious. We're going to have some fairly incredibly cold air for this time of the year. We know that's going to happen as we get into the weekend and early next week. And then another storm system. So the setup, to get a late March snowstorm or ice storm, you need the setup the couple of days beforehand to be cold, because if you're already in the 50s before it, you're probably going to warm up. So this cold setup is probably what's going to lead us to a mess, it looks like, next week. So here's the radar forecast. Off the high resolution rapid refresh. Let's get to it. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, Okay. 12, 1 o'clock right there. So everything lifting up into the UP through the morning hours. And then as we get in the afternoon, this is 4 o'clock, 5, 6. That's when the thunderstorms develop. And remember, there's enough cold air aloft in this kind of pattern that robust hail development is possible. This is 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. So we're expecting somewhere between 3 o'clock, really 4, 5, and 6, to maybe as late as 9 o'clock that we get into the thunderstorms. And you can really see the area there. Maybe as far west as Grand Rapids, but definitely Jackson, Lansing, definitely Ann Arbor, Detroit, maybe into Flint and the Thumb. Now, I want to get into the guts of weather with you, by the way. And hey, thanks for joining me on the MLive Morning Weather Update. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. This update brought to you by Lush Lawn. If you could hit the share button, and we're going to get into the guts of what's happening into the future. So you know how to plan. You know, this is the time of the year where you might start a construction project. You might finish a construction project that you had going in the fall. There's some spring break travel, all that stuff. So here we go. I'm going to give you a couple of perspectives. We're going to start with the European model. You got to first kind of pick out, let me go back to nothing on the map. You got to pick out some states. You know, I can kind of see Florida in there. I can see Texas. The Great Lakes is covered with a storm system. That's the storm system now, today, into tomorrow. We get on the backside of it by tomorrow afternoon and evening, and that can change into snow showers. And, you know, right in there into Thursday night, I would not be surprised to see an inch or two of snow in southeast Michigan and the Thumb and the Saginaw Bay City area. And then we get into the weekend, and that doesn't look like spring, does it? That's a north wind coming from Hudson Bay. So we are in the cold, my friends, for the weekend. This is another clean out your closet type weekend. My wife already did that the last couple of weekends, so I can't use that excuse again here at the Torregrossa Ranch. Now, this is Tuesday, and here comes the next storm system. This is Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday. That right there, my friends, leans more toward winter than spring. And we're out 10 days. Maybe some improvement, but you already see the next storm system. So I definitely think that we are in a solid wet pattern here the next 2 weeks. And with the cold air close enough and the warm air close enough, what I'm talking about wacky, we could have snowstorm. We could have a strip of accumulating ice. We could have severe weather, as in large hail, thunderstorms, tornadoes at this time of the year. So let's look at it. Let's look at it now from the perspective, a little bit easier perspective for you. This is going to show you the precipitation types out of these storm systems. So today we're all rain, and then as we go through tomorrow, a mixture starts to drop down, especially as we get toward tomorrow night. We pretty much need the nighttime coldness to change over to snow on something like this. Here's Friday, so we still have spurts around. And then here comes that cold air circulating down. Look at that. That's Saturday afternoon and evening. That's snow showers. Ew. And we're in a Monday. Now, the next storm system to watch for next week. This is Tuesday night. That's Wednesday morning. That's snow. That's freezing rain. And that's rain. And then this is Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening. That's snow. Wednesday night. Ew, that's snow. And so we'll just have to see how it pans out, because bear in mind, this is still about 7 days out, 6 to 7 days out. Models are very good at that perspective. I'm going to show you the U.S. model. It's different. It's not really that great at that perspective, but it shows somewhat of a similar scenario, just enough to know that by Sunday, we got to be really looking at this and see what it's going to do. Okay, so here's the US model then, right here. And here's our storm system for today. And here's our turning to snow tomorrow night and Friday. So that really looks to be happening. And here's that cold flow on Saturday. Get some wood in the fireplace. By the way, several of my friends heat their houses with wood. You know, the water boiler, and they have the wood outside in the boiler. Water comes in the house, and it's a hot water heat. And at this time of the year, they kind of get sick of stoking the fire because you got to do it every day and keep it going. And they said, "What do you think?" I said, "I would get it going, and because you're going to need heat for the next couple of weeks, and you're going to probably need some fairly significant heat at times." So yeah, you got a couple more weeks before you can slack off on that. Now let's see what the US model does for next week. This is Tuesday night to Wednesday morning, and it brings snow and freezing rain in. Then it pushes us into the warm sector of the storm for a while. So it's quite a bit different than the European on the exact outcome of this, but very similar on the timing, and that it's a storm that we have to watch. All right, temperatures. Today is going to be pretty chilly. It'll make it up to 50 to about Saginaw. Grand Rapids could make it to near 60, but northern parts of the state only in the 30s. Then we got tomorrow in the 40s, and Friday in the 40s to maybe 50. Saturday in the low 40s, 30s north. Sunday, high temperatures. These are high temperatures you're seeing in the 30s. Monday in the low 30s. Tuesday in the low 30s. Now, this is the colder solution off of the European, and it seems pretty incredible that it would stay this cold this long. So things could change dramatically, but the weather is going to get wacky. Now, this is Wednesday when we could be having a snowstorm, and this is Thursday and Friday of next week. So, in other words, we still have to have some thoughts of some substantial winter weather on the way. First, we get through today, and that is decreasing steady rainfall, a little bit warmer, and then thunderstorms erupt this afternoon, this evening. My best advice to you, park the good car in the garage if you're in the southern half of Lower Michigan today, because we could see maybe inch and a half to 2-inch size diameter hail that can dent a car. Possibility of an isolated tornado. Can't rule it out. You can have those in cold weather, but that looks like it's going to be mostly to the south and east of us down into Ohio. So if you're traveling that way, be on the lookout for that. And then we get into the cold stuff and we start to change our tune toward more wintry type precipitation by tomorrow into Friday. Sorry, it's going to get wacky. I'm going to be here for you. This is the MLive Morning Weather Update brought to you by Lush Lawn, and I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrosa. Thanks for joining me. Hit the share button, please.